Touka Mimori is asleep on a school bus during a class trip when he wakes up to the sound of a bully arguing with class representative Ayaka Sobu. The bully reminds Touka of his abusive father, making him visibly uncomfortable. Before long, the teacher interrupts the chaos, but suddenly the entire bus is engulfed in a mysterious light. When they open their eyes, the entire class finds themselves in another world. They are greeted by the goddess Vicious, who explains that they have been summoned as heroes to defeat the Demon King. Only after his defeat can they return home, since an item needed for the return ritual is hidden within the Demon King. The goddess then evaluates every student using a magical orb to determine their hero rank and abilities. Most of the class receives powerful skills and high ranks, earning praise from Vicious. But when Touka places his hand on the orb, it glows purple. The goddess's attitude immediately changes. She coldly announces that Touka is nothing more than an E-rank hero, the lowest possible rank, and declares that he is completely useless. Without hesitation, Vicious orders him to be thrown into the ruins of disposal, a deadly place filled with monsters where criminals are sent to die. Touka desperately begs for another chance, and Ayaka Sobu even tries to defend him. However, the goddess effortlessly defeats her and ignores everyone's protests. Realizing there is no hope, Touka finally drops his quiet personality. He curses the goddess, swears revenge, and is instantly teleported into the terrifying ruins. Surrounded by piles of human skeletons, he is immediately attacked by a horrifying monster. In desperation, he uses his paralysis skill, successfully freezing the creature in place. As he escapes, another monster attacks, but this time he combines paralysis with poison, killing it with surprising ease. Touka quickly realizes the goddess lied about his abilities being worthless. His so-called weak skills are actually incredibly effective against monsters. With a new determination to survive, he begins his lonely journey, vowing to become strong enough to one day take revenge on the goddess who betrayed him. Meanwhile, deep within a nearby forest, a mysterious elf woman is introduced as she quietly bathes in a peaceful lake. Trapped inside the ruins of disposal, Touka is surrounded by endless hordes of deadly monsters. At first, he struggles to survive, but he soon discovers that the status effect skills the goddess called worthless are actually unbelievably powerful. His paralysis and poison work perfectly on every monster he encounters, allowing him to defeat enemies far stronger than himself. As stronger monsters fall, Touka gains huge amounts of experience and levels up at an incredible speed. His mana and abilities continue to grow, and before long, the terrifying monsters that once hunted him become nothing more than experience points in his eyes. After fighting non-stop, hunger finally catches up with him. Hoping to survive, Touka tries eating one of the monsters he killed, but quickly realizes they're all poisonous and impossible to eat. Remembering the magic pouch the goddess gave him, he pours mana into it. To his surprise, the pouch produces a bottle of soda and a bag of beef jerky from his own world. Realizing the pouch can recreate food from Earth, he finally has a reliable way to survive. As Touka ventures deeper into the ruins, he discovers the remains of countless powerful adventurers who all failed to escape. Among them lies the body of the legendary great sage Angren, another victim abandoned by the goddess long ago. Searching his belongings, Touka finds Angren's journal, where a message written in blood warns of the terrifying monster known as the Soul Eater. Eventually, Touka reaches the exit of the ruins, only to find the Soul Eater waiting for him. The monster is far stronger than anything he has faced before. Knowing he can't win in a direct fight, Touka pretends to lose all hope and falls into despair. Believing it has already won, the Soul Eater lets its guard down for just a moment. That single mistake is all Touka needs. He instantly uses his deadly status effects and kills the monster. With the Soul Eater defeated, the countless souls it had devoured are finally set free. Among them is the spirit of the great sage Angren. Before disappearing forever, Angren asks Touka to avenge everyone the goddess sacrificed. Touka calmly replies that he was already planning to do exactly that. Having survived the impossible, Touka finally escapes the ruins of disposal, stronger than anyone could have imagined and more determined than ever to make the goddess pay. In Alien, the goddess Vicious has made the heroes participate into a monster hunt at a test to see if more heroes are to be disposed of. After she woke up after attempting to defend Touka, Sobu speaks to the goddess again and pleads for her to spare those who failed the test, and agrees to protect them by forming a group led by her S-class hero. Meanwhile, in the dark forest, Touka stumbles upon a slime being bullied by others of his species and putting up a fight. After helping it, Touka befriends the monster and names it Pigamaru. Soon after, Pigamaru warns Touka of imminent danger just before he gets ambushed by 4 men, the White Walkers. The mercenaries are tracking someone in the woods, a woman they intend to capture and possibly rape, but stumbling upon Touka, they try to rob and murder him for their own amusement. Mimori takes them by surprise with his paralyzed skill and poisons them to death before finding the woman they were tracking. After paralyzing her as well, Touka interrogates her, and after collecting enough information, the two part ways, grateful for the other's help. After escaping the ruins of disposal, Touka arrives at the city of Mills, where he learns that Marquis Creed Harkley is organizing a large expedition to explore nearby ruins. Since the great sage's journal mentions that a skeleton king lives there, Touka immediately decides to join a raid. He needs the monster's remains to create an elixir that can strengthen his slimes. While waiting to register, Touka notices a hooded woman being harassed by a man. The man loudly accuses her of being Sarah Zashrain, the beautiful elf princess and former captain of the Holy Knights, who now has a huge bounty on her head. To prove his claim, he tears off her hood. But instead of revealing an elf, everyone sees an ordinary human woman with no pointed ears. Embarrassed after making a scene, the man leaves in humiliation. The woman introduces herself as Mist Barkus, while Touka hides his identity by using the name Hutty Skull. Since Touka is still unfamiliar with this world, he hires Mist to help him buy supplies before the two go their separate ways. Once the expedition begins, Touka discovers that the same man has secretly hired two mercenaries to murder Mist inside the ruins. Before they can carry out their plan, Touka steps in. As the mercenaries attack him, he effortlessly paralyzes all three men and abandons them to the monsters, giving them the exact fate they intended for Mist. Continuing deeper into the ruins, Touka reaches the lowest floor and discovers the legendary Dragonite Chalice. The priceless treasure Marquis Harkley has promised a reward of 300 gold coins for. Mist catches up to him shortly afterward, but instead of keeping the treasure for himself, Touka hands the chalice to her, revealing that he entered the ruins for a completely different objective. Grateful for his kindness, Mist promises to help Touka hunt the Skeleton King and repay the favor. Meanwhile, deep within the dark forest, a group of holy knights searching for the fugitive Sarah's Ashrain discovers the corpses of the feared White Walkers. Their commander immediately realizes that someone incredibly powerful defeated them. Touka and Mist continue exploring the deepest levels of the ruins. Since Mist has been doing most of the fighting, she eventually reaches her limit. Seeing how exhausted she is, Touka suggests they rest for a while. To make sure she gets proper sleep, he secretly uses his sleep skill on her. The moment Mist loses consciousness, the illusion hiding her true appearance disappears. Just as Touka suspected, she's actually Sarah's Ashrain, the legendary elf princess and former captain of the Holy Knights. When she wakes up, the illusion automatically returns, hiding her identity once again. Touka pretends he never noticed, and the two continue their journey. Before long, they finally encounter the Skeleton King. Even Sarah's is alarmed by its overwhelming presence, believing that not even the strongest adventurer party taking part in an expedition could defeat such a monster. But before the Skeleton King can even attack, Touka instantly paralyzes it and finishes it off with his deadly status effects. Watching such an impossible victory leaves Sarah's completely speechless. After the battle, Pigamaru notices something unusual among the corpses scattered around the room. Following the slime's instincts, Touka uncovers a mysterious egg wrapped inside a magical cloth. Trusting Pigamaru, he decides to keep it without knowing what will eventually hatch from it. Meanwhile, in another dungeon, several students from Class 2C are struggling against an army of skeleton knights. During the battle, Sakura loses one of her hands, while Aika Sobu desperately tries to protect everyone. Just as the situation becomes hopeless, Oamata and Kirihara charge in and effortlessly wipe out every skeleton knight, showing little concern for the safety of their classmates. After returning, Sobu begs the goddess Vicious to heal Sakura's injury. Vicious agrees, but only because Sakura is a valuable B-rank hero. She coldly reminds everyone that weaker heroes are disposable, forcing Sobu to plead with her not to abandon the lower-ranked students the same way she abandoned Touka. Back in Mills, Touka asks Sarah's if she would like to travel with him since they are both heading in the same direction. Sarah's gladly accepts, and they agree to meet the following day, after she receives the reward for delivering the Dragonite Chalice to Marquis Harkley. However, everything goes wrong during the ceremony. A mage capable of dispelling illusions is invited to inspect the treasure, and his magic instantly removes Sarah's disguise, exposing her true identity as the wanted elf princess. Chaos erupts, forcing Sarah's to flee into the nearby forest. Waiting for her, there is an ambush led by the Black Dragon Knights. Although Sarah's defeats most of them, the illusion-breaking spell has left her badly weakened. Their commander, Gizzen, eventually overpowers her and prepares to assault her. But just before he can touch her, Touka suddenly appears. Without hesitation, he paralyzes Gizzen and his black dragon, then poisons them both, turning the desperate situation around in an instant. As Touka and Sarah's begin questioning the captured Black Dragon Knight, their interrogation is suddenly cut short when a spear flies through the air and kills the prisoner instantly. Both of them are left stunned as the attacker reveals himself to be Civic Gartland, the legendary warrior known as humanity's strongest. He arrives alongside the remaining 5 Black Dragon Knights, all riding black dragons and staying well outside the range of Touka's status effect skills. Civic calmly announces that they have come under the direct orders of King Ora to execute Sarah's Ashrain. He then reveals a shocking truth. The Holy Kingdom of Ni didn't fall because of military weakness, it was destroyed because the kingdom refused to hand Sarah's over to the goddess Vicious. In other words, Sarah's herself became the excuse for an entire nation's destruction. As the conversation continues, Civic becomes fascinated by Touka. Unlike anyone he has ever met, Touka shows no fear despite standing before the strongest warriors in the kingdom. Instead, he wears a confident smile, constantly searching for an opening to strike. Realizing deception won't work, Touka openly admits that he is one of the heroes summoned from another world. He even challenges Civic to a duel someday. Obsessed with finding powerful opponents worthy of fighting, Civic accepts the challenge. He agrees to spare Touka until he grows stronger and even allows Sarah's to live for now, since she will accompany Touka during his training in the dangerous land of golden-eyed monsters. But the moment Civic turns his back, Touka betrays everyone's expectations. Without hesitation, he unleashes his status effect skills on every Black Dragon Knight at once. Even Civic, despite his overwhelming strength, cannot react before paralysis takes hold. The more he struggles to resist, the more damage he causes himself. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Touka kills the Black Dragons first, gaining several powerful new abilities, including Freeze, Dark, and Berserk. He immediately tests his newly acquired skills on the helpless knights, making sure none of them can escape. One surviving knight manages to send a distress signal, and a squad of dragon riders quickly appears in the sky. Following Civic's orders, they prepare to attack from a safe distance. However, Touka and Pigamaru combine their abilities to strike first. Their devastating attack paralyzes and poisons every Dragon Knight before they can launch a single assault. One after another, the entire squad falls from the sky, and even the mighty Civic Gartland is eventually unable to resist the poison, dying where he stands. Meanwhile, back at the heroes' training grounds, the goddess sends a new instructor named Nyanten Kaikpat to train Class 2C. The arrogant Oyamata immediately challenges her to prove his strength, but Nyanten defeats him effortlessly with a single strike. Watching the overwhelming display of skill, Ayaka Sobu realizes just how much stronger she still needs to become if she wants to protect her classmates in the future. Deep inside the dark forest, the soldiers assigned to monitor the ruins of disposal notice that something seems wrong with the barrier protecting the area. However, they dismiss it as a minor malfunction, unable to believe that anyone could have escaped the ruins alive. Because of that mistake, Touka's survival remains completely unknown to the goddess. Meanwhile, Touka and Ceres continue their journey toward the land of golden-eyed monsters. During a stop in a small town, Touka hears the legend of the Fly King, a rebellious figure remembered by history as a villain who stood against the world. Feeling a strong connection to the story, Touka buys 2 Fly King masks, believing they may become the symbol of his own future group. Elsewhere, leaders of the Holy Alliance gather in the White Citadel of Protection to discuss the worsening war against the Demon King's army. Their biggest concern is the mysterious death of humanity's strongest, Civic Gartland, along with the Black Dragon Knights. They refuse to believe Ceres was capable of defeating such powerful warriors alone. During the meeting, a messenger arrives with shocking news. An unknown organization has claimed responsibility for wiping out Civic and his entire squad. Continuing their journey, Touka and Ceres arrive in the city of Urza. There, they discover that a group of sorcerers known as the Ashen Two are falsely taking credit for defeating Civic. Hoping to find a mysterious witch of taboo, Touka begins gathering information and soon learns about Eve Speed, the undefeated champion of the city's blood arena, who is rumored to know where the witch can be found. Touka approaches Eve, but she remains cautious and refuses to reveal much. However, Ceres carefully observes her reactions and realizes the rumors are true. Eve definitely knows the Witch of Taboo's location, making her the key to Touka's next objective. Later that night, Touka and Ceres return to their inn and spend some time training before finally relaxing together. Touka uses his magical pouch to create snacks from his old world, explaining that it produces random food every time he fills it with mana. Ceres happily tries the unfamiliar treats, while Pigamaru enjoys them just as much. As bedtime arrives, Touka admits he still has trouble sleeping. Wanting to help, Ceres prepares one of her herbal remedies, but she accidentally hands him the wrong mixture. Touka simply laughs it off and decides to spend the night reading instead. Watching him, Ceres quietly renews her oath to remain by Touka's side until the day he finally achieves his revenge against the goddess. Touka and Ceres soon learn more about Eve Speed's situation. Although she has already earned enough prize money to buy her own freedom from the arena, she continues risking her life in battle because she wants to save a young dark elf girl named Liz, who is still trapped working at a tavern under the Duke's control. Realizing this could help earn Eve's trust, Touka decides to make her an offer. The two meet Eve again and ask her to guide them to the mysterious Witch of Taboo. In return, Touka warns her that the Duke plans to have her killed during her final arena match. According to the information he gathered, every champion before Eve mysteriously died in their last battle, making it clear she is next. Eve refuses to believe 2 complete strangers. To prove he isn't lying, Touka suddenly paralyzes her before revealing the truth. He's the one responsible for wiping out humanity's strongest Civic Gartland, along with the entire Black Dragon Knights. Ceres then reveals her real identity as Ceres Ashrain, proving that Touka's story is genuine. Even so, Eve chooses to trust the Duke for now. Respecting her decision, Touka simply tells her where to find him if she ever changes her mind. As Touka and Ceres leave, they come across several members of Ashen to harassing a young girl and trying to force her to receive a so-called blessing from their leader. Before Ceres can draw her sword, Touka activates his berserk skill on the attackers, causing them to lose control and attack each other instead. The frightened girl escapes safely, while the cult members tear themselves apart. That night, Eve cannot stop thinking about Touka's warning. Hoping he was wrong, she secretly spies on the Duke and overhears a private conversation that confirms her worst fears. Not only does the Duke intend to have her murdered during her final match, but he also plans to sell Liz into a brothel once Eve is gone. Furious after learning the truth, Eve immediately heads to the meeting place Touka told her about. Along the way, she encounters Mwaji, the leader of Ashen 2, who casually wishes her luck in her upcoming match. When Eve finally meets Touka and Ceres again, she agrees to help them find the Witch of Taboo in exchange for rescuing Liz. The newly formed group quickly heads to the tavern where Liz is being held. Arriving there, they witness the tavern owner brutally abusing the helpless child. Eve safely escapes with Liz, while Touka stays behind to deal with the woman himself. Seeing her fake apology reminds Touka of his own abusive parents. Without showing any mercy, he paralyzes the tavern owner, engulfs her in darkness, and finally ends her life with poison. With Liz rescued, Touka, Ceres, Eve, and the young dark elf flee the city together, setting their sights on the land of golden-eyed monsters. But before long, they realize they are being relentlessly pursued by Mwaji and the fanatical members of Ashen 2. Mwaji and the Ashen to finally catch up to Touka's group, only to find a masked Ceres Ashrain standing alone in the middle of the forest. Sensing that something is wrong, Mwaji suspects it's a trap. While he questions Ceres, he secretly orders his men to sneak into the forest from different directions. What they don't realize is that Touka is already waiting for them. Hidden among the trees, he silently eliminates Mwaji's scattered soldiers one by one. As Mwaji continues boasting, Touka uses the extra time to prepare a synchronized attack with Pigamaru. The moment everything is ready, they strike together, instantly paralyzing and poisoning the remaining Ashinta members surrounding Ceres. In just a few moments, the entire group is wiped out. Before they can leave, another enemy arrives. Duke Swan appears with a large force of cavalry, determined to capture Eve and Liz. Ceres stays behind to protect Liz while Touka and Eve step forward to face the army. During the battle, Touka discovers that his status effect skills have a limit to the number of targets they can affect at once. Even so, with Touka disabling enemies and Eve cutting them down with her incredible combat skills, the Duke's soldiers are defeated one after another despite vastly outnumbering them. Soon, only Duke Swan remains. Instead of accepting defeat, he kills several of his own soldiers for trying to run away. Watching this, Touka mocks him, saying he doesn't even need to use Berserk because the Duke is already acting like a madman. Terrified, Swan attempts to escape, but Touka paralyzes him before Eve delivers the final blow, ending his life once and for all. After the battle, Touka freezes Mwaji's corpse inside a block of ice. He explains to Eve that he plans to erase all evidence of the Ashinto's destruction, so the world will believe the organization simply disappeared into hiding. With that, he shatters the frozen body into countless pieces, leaving no trace behind. Meanwhile, in Alien, Nyantan Kaikpat secretly continues training Ayaka Sogu without the goddess's knowledge. She admits that Sogu reminds her of her younger sister, which is why she decided to personally help her become stronger. At the same time, Goddess Vicious unveils her next plan. To rapidly increase the summoned hero's strength, she decides to send them into the deadly land of golden-eyed monsters. To prepare them for this brutal trial, she gathers some of the Holy Alliance's greatest warriors, including the Four Saints, the legendary Drunken Sword Party, and the powerful warrior Bane, to serve as their instructors. Touka, Ceres, Eve, Liz, and Pigamaru finally enter the dangerous land of golden-eyed monsters, a place feared even by experienced adventurers. Almost immediately, they are attacked by a powerful monster similar to the ones from the ruins of Disposal. Touka quickly tests his status effect skills and, after confirming they still work perfectly, the creature is defeated with ease. After the battle, Touka begins collecting valuable materials from the monsters. He also hunts several creatures called Nazorts because their body parts can be used to strengthen slimes like Pigamaru. He explains that everything he knows about these monsters comes from a monster encyclopedia left behind by the great sage Angren. Seeing Ceres' interest in the book, Touka lets her borrow it during their journey. Before long, the mysterious egg Touka found in the mill's ruins finally begins to hatch. To everyone's surprise, a baby horse-like monster emerges from the tiny egg. Touka discovers a magical organ on its back that absorbs mana, so he pours magic into it. The creature instantly evolves into a full-grown horse, and after receiving even more mana, it transforms again into a gigantic 8-legged steed. Reminded of the legendary horse of Odin, Touka names his new companion Slay. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the land of golden-eyed monsters, the remaining students of Class 2C begin their own training alongside veteran adventurers. When a pack of Nazorts attacks, Ajido Angun, Abyss, and Nyantan order the students to stay back while they handle the dangerous monsters. Working together, the three veterans successfully defeat one of the beasts. However, Kirihara refuses to stand aside. Eager to show off his power, he charges into battle alone and unleashes his unique skill, Draconic Buster, wiping out most of the Nazor pack by himself. Drunk on his own strength, he boldly declares that one day, he will rule over everything. Elsewhere, Hijiri and Itsuki discover a group of mysterious spies attempting to infiltrate the forest. Once exposed, the spies take their own lives rather than reveal any information. As for Touka's group, they continue their journey and spend the night inside the ruins of an ancient structure. The following morning, Eve notices a giant mouth-shaped monster sneaking toward them and kills it before it can attack. But with its dying breath, the creature releases a distress signal that echoes throughout the forest. Moments later, the ground begins to shake as countless golden-eyed monsters charge toward Touka and his companions, surrounding them in a massive stampede that threatens to swallow them whole. The giant mouth monster's final distress call echoes across the entire land of golden-eyed monsters, drawing countless monsters into a massive stampede. Realizing she unintentionally caused the disaster, Eve offers to stay behind as a decoy so everyone else can escape. Touka immediately refuses. Believing he has the highest chance of surviving, he decides to face the horde himself. After making sure Ceres, Eve, Liz, and Pigamaru are safely hidden inside a cave, he mounts Slay in its strongest 8-legged form and charges straight toward the endless wave of monsters. Elsewhere, the monster stampede crashes through the training grounds of Class 2C. Although the students are not the monster's target, they are caught in the chaos. Kirihara and Oyamata effortlessly destroy the monsters that get close, while Ayaka Sogu desperately tries to keep everyone calm. During the confusion, Kashima risks her life to save Kane, only for Kane to abandon her as bait so she can escape. The attack claims the lives of Hiroka and Sakuma, two classmates who had bullied Yasu and mocked Touka before he was exiled. After the battle, their deaths spark a heated argument. Sogu criticizes Yasu for refusing to save them, even though he had the power to do so. Yasu coldly replies that they brought their fate upon themselves, and reminds everyone how they laughed while Touka was sentenced to die in the ruins of Disposal. The argument quickly escalates. Kirihara and Oyamata mock Yasu, calling him pathetic, but Yasu responds by activating his unique skill, Levitine, proving that hero ranks alone don't determine true strength. He points out that Sogu may be an S-rank hero, yet she doesn't possess a unique skill, while Oyamata is an A-rank hero who is still weaker than him. Enraged, Oyamata prepares to attack, but Kirihara stops him, saying Yasu isn't worth wasting time on. However, he turns to Sobu and bluntly tells her that despite being an S-rank hero, she has become the weakest link. Unless she grows stronger, she will only continue holding everyone back. His words leave Sobu devastated as she begins questioning whether all of her efforts have been enough. Meanwhile, Touka continues his desperate battle against the endless monster horde alongside Pigamaru. Watching him risk everything for their sake, Eve can no longer remain hidden. Determined to help if things go wrong, she leaves the cave and searches for him. Instead, she comes across Kashima sitting alone, shaken by everything that has happened and haunted by the memory of failing to save Touka when the goddess cast him into the ruins of disposal. Just as Eve reaches out to help her, Itsuki suddenly mistakes Eve for an enemy and launches a surprise attack with her lightning shifter ability. With no chance to explain herself, Eve is forced into a fierce battle against one of Touka's former classmates. Itsuki overwhelms Eve with her incredible speed and even strikes her with a lightning spell that temporarily paralyzes her vocal cords, leaving her unable to speak. Just as Itsuki prepares to deliver the finishing blow, her older sister, Hijiri, steps in and stops the attack. After carefully observing Eve, Hijiri realizes she isn't a golden-eyed monster at all, but an intelligent leopardkin. Once the paralysis wears off, Eve is finally able to speak. Before leaving, Hijiri pieces together her identity and correctly guesses that she is the famous arena champion Eve Speed. Through their brief conversation, Hijiri also learns that Eve is now traveling with a mysterious human powerful enough to survive the land of golden-eyed monsters on his own, making her increasingly curious about this unknown individual. Meanwhile, Touka is still fighting for his life against the endless monster horde. Among the enemies are especially dangerous human-faced monsters that hide behind other creatures, using them as living shields. With Slay's speed, Pigamaru's support, and his own quick thinking, Touka skillfully maneuvers around their defenses and defeats them one by one using his deadly status effect abilities. Just as the battle finally comes to an end, a wolf-like monster launches a surprise attack from behind. Eve arrives at the last second and saves Touka before the creature can finish him off. Completely exhausted, Touka collapses, and Eve carries both him and Slay, who has returned to his tiny full form, back to the cave where Sarah's and Liz are waiting. Sarah's carefully treats Touka's injuries while he sleeps peacefully after the exhausting battle. Unable to hide her feelings any longer, she quietly leans in and steals a gentle kiss while he remains asleep. Elsewhere, Kashima reunites with the Takao sisters and explains that she has stayed close to a Seijai's group to secretly watch over Ayaka's Sobu. When they finally return to the rest of Class 2C, a Seijai rushes over and hugs Kashima in relief, although she grows suspicious after noticing the exchange between Kashima and Sobu. Kashima thanks the Takao sisters for saving her life but keeps the details of their conversation with Eve a secret. After recovering, Touka's group continues their journey and finally reaches the territory of the legendary Witch of Taboo. The area is protected by powerful magic circles that immediately activate a massive stone golem. Rather than destroying it, Touka cleverly disables it with his status effect skills and safely passes through the barrier. Beyond the defenses, the group discovers a small house whose entrance leads into a hidden magical underground sanctuary. There, they finally come face to face with a mysterious woman they have been searching for. She introduces herself as Erika Anarovial, the infamous Witch of Taboo. Thrilled that his long journey has finally brought results, Touka hopes Erika possesses the knowledge he needs to oppose the goddess. Standing before the legendary witch, he renews his vow to destroy Vicious and everything she holds sacred,